Hello students, it's time for our last social science class of the year. Yes, we're at the end and we're going to study the history of Malaga, this beautiful city. Malaga. Isn't it beautiful? Look at that picture. It's the city of boquerones and of espeto de sardinas, the city of el cenachero, the fishermen, the city of biznaga, the flowers that smell so good. It's also the city of Pablo Picasso. It's the city of the Roman theater and the Alcazaba and the cathedral and the lighthouse. All of these things are so beautiful. But you know, Malaga is really a product of its people. People have been living here since prehistoric times. The Phoenicians founded the city. Then the Greeks live here. Then the Carthaginians came from northern Africa. The Romans lived in Malaga. Then Visigoths. Then Muslims. Then Christians. And even modern-day Spanish people like Pablo Picasso. And all the way to the present, with the people who dance and sing and art and represent Spanish culture. We're going to look at the history of Malaga. Let's go. Now remember our timeline of history. We divided it into 5 periods, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Prehistory, ancient history, the Middle Ages, the modern age, the contemporary age. You know this. You used your hand to memorize the 5 periods of history. Here's your hand. P is for prehistory. A is for ancient history. M is for the Middle Ages. M is for the modern age. And C is for the contemporary age. Well, now let's look at the history of Malaga, of our city and our province. We'll see one monument from each period of history. Here's our timeline. In prehistory, we're going to look at the Dolmens of Antequera. Antequera is a city in the province of Malaga. In ancient history, we'll look at the Roman theater, right in the center of Malaga. From the Middle Ages, we'll look at the Alcazaba, which is next to the Roman theater. From the modern age, we'll look at the Cathedral of Malaga. And finally, from the contemporary age, we're going to look at the monument in Plaza de la Merced. Let's go. First of all, Malaga in prehistoric times, during prehistory. So here's our timeline of prehistory. The Dolmens of Antequera are the most important monument from prehistory in the province of Malaga. Here's a prehistoric caveman, and here's a picture of one of the dolmens. They're made of very big stones, and when I say big, I mean 180 tons big. Amazing that they could build and move these stones. Wow. They were used to bury the dead. They were made in the Neolithic period of prehistory. Remember, prehistory had the Paleolithic and Neolithic, and then the Middle Ages. Well, these are from the Neolithic period. They are a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In Spanish, you say Patrimonio de la Humanidad. That means that they are one of the most important monuments in the world. Really, in the world. They are the only monument in the province of Malaga on this list. They're really important. And when you look from them, it looks to the east, and you can see the beautiful shape of what they call La Peña de los Enamorados. Right? It looks like the head of a person. Some people say the head of an Indian. Some people say the head of a woman who's looking up to heaven. It's clear that even in prehistory, people thought this was a magical place. Now, in prehistory, there's one more thing we have to say. We must, because Malaga also has many amazing caves that were inhabited in prehistory. For example, the cave of Nerja is the most visited cave in all of Andalusia, our region in Spain. Also, there's a cave called Cueva de la Pileta. It has more than 3,000 prehistoric cave paintings. from the Paleolithic period, the Neolithic, and they think that Neanderthal people painted some of these too. My favorite in Malaga is called La Cueva del Gato. It has water in it, very cold water, and the cave goes through a mountain. If you watch a video on YouTube about this, it's amazing, but it's dangerous. And one more. There's one called La Cueva de la Araña. It's only 5 minutes from our school. And it's much more important than people think. Well, that's what we learned about prehistory. And if you click here on this link, you can see more prehistoric caves in the province of Malaga. There are many, and they're amazing. Let's change. Malaga and ancient history. Yes, in ancient history. First of all, you have to understand ancient history was the period of civilizations. Before we studied the Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Romans, well, there are more. And one important civilization was the Phoenicians. In Spanish, you say Fenicios. The Phoenicians were not from Malaga, but they came to Malaga and they founded the city about 2800 BC. That's almost 3,000 years ago in the past. Here's a Phoenician, and here are the boats that they used to travel across the Mediterranean Sea and found the city of Malaga. So, of course, the name Malaga comes from the Phoenician name Malacca. But really, the monument I want to study in ancient history is from the Romans. The Romans, hello Roman, built the Roman theater of Malaga about 2,000 years ago. Imagine watching a play here, sitting down here. Imagine watching people speak in Latin, right? Dressed up in costumes. All of the important people from the city are here watching this play. And you can visit this today. It's a very important monument in Malaga. That's from ancient history. Let's go to the Middle Ages. Here's our timeline of the Middle Ages. The Muslims who came from the north of Africa built the Alcazaba about 1,000 years ago. That was in the Middle Ages. Here's a Muslim, and the Alcazaba was a residence where people lived, but also it was a fortress. It was for defense. Here's a model of the Alcazaba, and here are some photographs from the outside. Isn't it amazing? Have you been to the Alcazaba? You should go and explore, because it is so much fun to walk around and imagine life in the Middle Ages, right in the center of Malaga. Well, let's continue. The modern age. Here's our timeline of the modern age. The Christians built the Cathedral of Malaga in the modern age. Here's a picture of the cathedral today. But these two people, they're called the Catholic monarchs. They're Ferdinand and Isabella, or in Spanish, Fernando y Isabel. They ordered for this cathedral to be built. When the Christians took control of the city of Malaga from the Muslims, they said, we are going to build a cathedral here. And it's in the center of Malaga. Look, it has only one tower. So they call it La Manquita, because it's like it has only one hand. So the one-armed lady. La Manquita is the Cathedral of Malaga. The style is Renaissance style, and also some parts are Baroque. And if you remember, we said in the modern age, the Renaissance was a rebirth of art and architecture. The Cathedral of Malaga is an example. And of course, the Cathedral of Malaga, it's a symbol of the city. Many people go here for church and as a place to visit if you're a tourist. Now, one more. Let's look at the history of Malaga in the contemporary age. Now, the contemporary age started with the French Revolution, and it continues today. But what monument can we study? Well, there's a monument to General Torrijos in Plaza de la Merced. Here's the monument. Do you know this monument? Maybe you have seen it, but do you know the story? Probably not. Look at this man. That's General Torrijos. Not torrija, like the food you eat at Easter. No, Torrijos. Who was he? Well, he was a general. He fought in a war against France. It was called the War of Independence. In the French Revolution, Well, they cut off the head of the French king, and there was a man called Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon took control of France, and then he invaded other countries. He invaded Italy and Germany and even to Russia, and he came to Spain. And Napoleon took control of Spain. The Spanish people said, no, 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 we don't want the French, and they fought a war of independence. This man, General Torrijos, fought this war. And during this war, Spain had a constitution, the first constitution, and it was an idea of revolution. Now the kings don't have absolute power. Now we want people to have rights and power. Torrijos liked this idea, but what happened? Torrijos helped Spain win the war against France, but he was executed because he defended the Spanish Constitution. Look at this painting. This is a painting from the beaches of Malaga, the beach of Huelin. Do you know where Huelin is? Well, it's on the west side of Malaga, and you can see Torrijos is here. If you look, you can see some people are dead, and Torrijos is going to be executed. Why? Because he said that he wanted to have a constitution, and he didn't want the king to have absolute power. The Spanish king didn't like that. The Spanish king killed Torrijos. So today he's a hero. If you look at the monument, there's a poem. Can you read it? Look carefully. It says, "A vista de este ejemplo, ciudadanos, antes morir que consentir tiranos." In English, we would say, see this example, citizens. It's better to die than to consent to tyrants. The tyrant was the king of Spain, and Torrijos, well, he wanted people to have power, not just the king. If you remember, I told you the contemporary age was an age of revolution, and this message was a strong message of revolution. So that's why there's a monument to him in Malaga. But you know what? The Plaza de la Merced is also important because it's the birthplace of Malaga's most famous native son. Do you know who? Look at this picture. Can you see the arrow? Right here in this house, what person was born here? It was Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso is probably the most famous person born in Malaga. He was an artist, a painter, and of course he was born and died and painted in the contemporary age. If you go to Plaza de la Merced, you can see a statue of Pablo Picasso sitting down. You can sit down, you can take a picture, and he's looking at the monument to General Torrijos. They're two symbols of the history of Malaga in the contemporary age. So in conclusion, we have learned about the history of Malaga, your beautiful city, and my city too. You have learned one monument from each period of history. Do you remember? Here's our timeline. In prehistory, what's the name of this? They are the Dolmens of Antequera. In ancient history, we studied this monument. What is it? The Roman Theater. In the Middle Ages, we studied this monument. What's the name? The Alcazaba, right? A fortress built by the Muslims. In the modern age, we studied this monument. What's the name? It's the Cathedral of Malaga. And finally, for the contemporary age, we studied this monument, which, as you know, is a monument to General Torrijos, and it is in the Plaza de la Merced. That's right. Good job, boys and girls. I hope that you explore your beautiful city, and I hope that you learn about the history of Malaga. Okay? We have finished with social science. Great job, everyone. Bye-bye.